Good afternoon and welcome back to ABG Investor Days. My name is Jesper Birch Jensen and I work as an equity research analyst here at ABG. With us today we have the CEO of Precise Biometrics, Stefan Persson, so without further ado, please go ahead, Stefan.
Thank you. Next slide. Next slide, please. Warm welcome to Precise Biometrics. We are broadcasting from our offices today, so it's really nice to have you here, even if I can't see you. What you actually saw here recently were the real life. Something happens right now, and it's not the future. And I will come back to that a little bit later in my presentation. So my name is Stefan Persson, and I'm CEO for Precise Biometrics. I will give you an update about what we have been doing during the last 2 years, the actual situation, and a little bit also about the future and the huge potential we see in this market. So next slide, please. For those who haven't met Precise before, I will start with a little bit of who we are and the background of the company. So next slide, please. We were founded in 1997 in Lund, actually, and we are today 50 employees. We are based in Shanghai in Asia, who are taking care of the operationals in the mobile area for our customers out there. We have our headquarters in Lund, where we have the majority of the development of our platform in the fingerprint area, but also the new area of digital identity and unique. And then we have an office on the East Coast in the US, in New York State, in Potsdam, who are taking care of the US market and all customers there, and also selling the unique system and also is supporting the development of our algo in the mobile area. We have two business areas, the digital identity and algo, which is the mobile and smart cards. We are on the stock exchange market, approximately 500 million SEK. So you can actually buy and sell us every day. That's possible. Next slide, please. Everything is about that you are the key, and I will talk more about that in the coming slide. Next slide, please. So it's about real customer, the real needs and real life, so to say. So why should we do things complicated when we can make it very, very easy? And with the technology that's available now, you can actually have a fantastic, easy life with a high security. Next slide. It's about you are the key. You are the key to everything. So no matter of who you are, where you are, and what you do, you should always have access to a digital identity in a very controlled and secure way. It's owned and handled by you, so you decide when to use it and how to use it. You are the key. Next slide, please. Now I will talk a little bit about the future here, how we see the total market and where we're progressing. It's about one ID and what we call several applications and resources. Next slide. Today we have a situation where there are more and more consolidation of the digital credentials. We're coming from a situation where you have passwords, you have PIN codes, you have cards, etc. But that is now merging into one credential in the identity area. We are going also to see the more merging online and offline identities. In the past, it was more or less impossible to have something for different type of application, but more and more are now integrated into a merging situation. And in the future, then we will have a single credential for all activities. Next slide, please. This is a very important landscape picture. If we start on the left side, we have the trusted source like national government, like banks, and in some countries it's the telecom operator or the gas supplier that actually is the starting point of the trusted source. And then that trusted source then linked to an identity provider. So in Sweden we have Bank ID or Freja EID. And then on the right hand we have a lot of different digital IDs in the landscape. We are the link between the left side and the right side. We have the possibility to link the user's trusted source ID to something that we can utilize in many, many different applications on the right hand. Today it's using the PIN card, PIN code and different cards and tags, etc. But in the future, you should only use your biometric to open up different applications and resources. Next slide, please. So yesterday it was, for instance, in the access system, it was a closed source. It was a proprietary system. Actually like the old mobile phone industry where you have the Motorola, you have the Nokia, you have the Ericsson system, and no one were talking to each other. And that we can see also in the access system. But that will now change here in the same way as there have been change in the mobile industry where we have the Apple platform and we have the Google platform. We will see a similar changes in the access system also. Next slide, please. So what will happen then is that we will have a more open source operating system where you actually can add on different type of technologies and different type of features on top of the open platform. It will not be one system that fits all. It will be an open environment where you can actually add different platforms into the system. It will be one user, one digital identity, but many, many applications and many, many different type of features, etc., that will be used outside. In the world. Next slide, please. One example here could be, for instance, we can today integrate with, for instance, the LG screens. So when you enter the office, you get a warm welcome, and then on the screen, so it's based on that the face recognition, do the matching, and then the information sends to an LG screen, and then you have the information on the screen, as you saw in my previous video, actually. So this is not the future, it's something that happens already now. So you can start to combine the digital identity with a lot of different services and applications out there. Next slide, please. Precise unique ID then. Next slide. One day in your life means that you open up in the morning, you open up your mobile phone, you open up your bicycle or your car, you go to the office, you buy a coffee, and you buy some lunch, and then you go to the gym or you take a transportation, etc. You buy something on the internet. There's a lot of different things you do that today requires passwords and PIN codes and cards, etc. But what we can see now in the future is that all this will be removed in one way or another way, and you can use your biometrics instead. Next slide, please. So this picture then means that you have the trusted source, you have the identity provider, and then you link that ID with your biometrics and can start to use it in the digital world for many different applications, distributed via our cloud services. Next slide, please. One example could be, for instance, the hospital. We have the possibility there when you have done the identity provider and, for instance, Freja EID, and then we can start to distribute out this, for instance, at the hospital. When you come to the hospital, you enter the building with your biometrics. Then you walk in the corridors and open doors with your biometrics. You open up different applications on computers, etc. You use biometrics. And then when you open up lockers, etc., for medical handling, you use your biometrics. So no password, no cards, no tags. You use your biometrics for opening up different type of applications and services out there. Next slide, please. Then we actually started here with the financial institute and banks and all that. But they were very slow mover, and then on top of that we had a problem with the corona situation and all that. So then we decided to start with access. So now I will explain a little bit more about the access area. Next slide, please. So we have seen that we have divided into 6 different verticals. It's apartment blocks, it's commercial buildings, constructions, gyms, industrial, and public. And we have started to work in all of these verticals. Due to the corona, gyms is a little bit tricky right now, and we have most attraction in construction and in industrials right now, but all of those areas are very, very interesting for the future. Next slide, please. The go-to-market strategy here is that we, of course, will integrate with different AMS, access management systems, like what we have done now with the RCO, and there will be more to come. We have S2 in US, for instance. It's so important that we are integrated with this platform to get the scalability. We are working very closely with the installation firms also, because they are our right hand out there to install the system and make sure everything is up and running by the customers. We have also direct sales, because it's so important to understand the market and understand the customer's needs there. If we don't have that, we will not be able to develop the future roadmap for our customers. And then we have other type of measurement like partnership, ecosystem, and maybe acquisitions also to open up and actually get a bigger platform for the future and opportunities there. Next slide, please. So this six segment and the 6 verticals, we have looked into the possibility there. And just in Sweden, we have hundreds of thousands of different buildings, and we can see the number of buildings is increasing every year, and the opportunity there is great. So next slide, please. So what we've done there is that we take the number of properties in Sweden, we look into the split between what we call mechanical and electromechanical locks. And then we said that in average there will be 1 installation per property. It might be more, but at least 1 installation per property. And we have all calculated that the annual revenue will be in the area of 35,000 SEK in Sweden. And then an adaptation rate also, which means that the conclusion will be, next slide please, that the overall potential market is more than 7 billion SEK just in Sweden for this type of product. And we think that maybe 15% will be addressable by Unique, and that means, next slide please, at 2025 we can address with Unique just in Sweden approximately 1 billion SEK in Sweden. Next slide please. When it comes to the number of users and installation, we're tracking that each month. We started here last year with 0 installation and 0 users, and now gradually during the last year we have increased it month by month. Today we have close to 50 installations. We have thousands of users every day. The business model is based on what we call a SaaS model, a software as a service. It's a recurrent revenue. So it's a very, very stable setup because we are signing a 3-year contract. So compare with the old business from Precise, we now have a business model that is a recurrent revenue. The average price for this is 1 SEK per user and day. And we will continue to track this and of course present it now and then each year. Next slide, please. Today, we have a lot of installation already, as I said. We have a good partnership with RCO, we have NVSS security, we have a lot of installation done with Algeco, and we have some very interesting ongoing activities that will happen during 2021. Next slide, please. Then into our main business today, the Algo, which is the mobile and the smart card. Next slide, please. So we have a very solid position within the mobile, and as you know, mobile is a very competitive market. We have been focusing on ultrasonic and optical area, and recently we announced again our deep collaboration with Qualcomm, and we're working very close with ABGSC also, as you know, and other potential partners out there. We have a situation now that we have increased our scope. We have pre-processing, we have the matching, and then we have also the liveness that is extremely important going forward. What we can see here is that the usage of mobile phone increased day by day, and due to that, it's very, very important that we have a very secured interaction with different applications on the mobile phone. So safer and faster than ever, and it's looking good for the future in the mobile area. When it comes to the biometric cards, together with our partners, we have done the evaluation that there will not be any huge volume this year. We continue to work closely with them to see the opportunity in the market, and as we said earlier, it's a bonus if something will happen this year there. What is very important for the future is the easy enrollment and the low cost that need to be better to really scale up and see a huge volume in this area. Next slide. I will now give you some update about the business status and how we see that. So next slide, please. During 2019 and 2020, it was about stabilization of the business. We came from a very tricky situation, and during 2019 and 2020, all the focus were to stabilize the overall business. We have a sales in the area of 20-25 million per quarter, so we could see a really stable progress of the company. Gross margin in a healthy 90%. We think that it might decrease a little bit over time because we invest a lot now in digital identity, and by that we might hit a little bit in the gross margin. But overall, a very, very stable sales and gross margin situation for the company. Next slide, please. When it comes to the operating profit and loss, our target were to be close to plus minus zero, because we invest all our EBIT earnings into the new area, because we are planning and we are doing things to grow the business going forward. So all the positive EBIT we have generated during the last 2 years, we invested that in the new business going forward, and we will continue to do that also during this year. Next slide, please. Very stable cash flow situation. We have now it in a much better control compared to 2 years ago, and we continue, of course, to monitor this carefully, how much we can invest for the future and continue to have a stable situation for the company. Next slide, please. So that was all for me, and then I hand over to you again.
Thank you, Stefan. I have a couple of questions. Let's start off with a few on Unique. As you mentioned, you started 2020 with close to 0 installations, and now you're close to 50. What's been driving this? The change. Have it been mainly incoming customer requests, or did you like see that COVID is going to change the demand for this product?
So the actually COVID had helped us a little bit, not in the gym area, but in other area, because this is a digital end-to-end solution. You don't need to meet anyone that should have access to a certain area, and you can send out the invite and all that via just an email. So that have actually helped us, a touchless end-to-end solution. Of course, when we started from 0, we had a good reputation within the biometric. We're utilizing in that to start to roll out. But of course, we have put a lot of efforts into sales and marketing, and we'll continue to do that because this is a new area for us, and it will take some time to build it up. But this will be the major part of Precise going forward. And as you could see, the just in Sweden, is a fantastic opportunity with addressable market more than 1 billion SEK just in Sweden. We have started to focus in Sweden and the Nordic countries. We have some activities in Norway, and via our sales office in US, we have actually been able to sell and have the first installation in US also. So that will continue to be the main focus here going forward during the next coming year.
Thank you. And you touched upon it there that Sweden will be your main focus to start with. And I was just wondering, thinking in terms of perhaps sales and marketing or other competencies which you might need, what is it you need to really scale up the number of installations? Do you feel that you have what you need to do that, or do you see a need in certain areas to grow in Sweden?
No, so the important part here is to have the partnership, like what we have with RCO or S2 Lenel. because then we can address the existing market. We will, of course, continue to sell with our own resources, but that's very limited what we're capable to do there. The important part here is to be compatible with different platforms to get up the scalability. And we're also spending a lot of resources and efforts now to both educate and get installation partners up and running, because then we will scale the sales efforts and opportunities going forward.
So, and when you speak with your installation partners, are there other solutions which they can offer their customers then, or is unique pretty much unique in this area?
Yeah, we are pretty unique actually. It's a digital end-to-end solution, which is not so common in this area. We can see there are competitors in Asia and in Korea, but most of those are actually on-prem solution and not possible to have a digital distribution. So right now we are pretty alone in this field and this area. Of course, there will be competitors out there and that will come, and it's no issue with that because the market is huge, as I said. But as it is right now, we are unique with this product.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions on the mobile segment as well, and you touched upon it there that you recently announced that you further your partnership with Qualcomm just last week, and that your new software has been integrated in their ultrasound fingerprint sensor. And I was wondering, what kind of types of volumes do you expect from this deal? Do you expect it to contribute in 2020, or is it more of a longer term contribution?
Now, we really hope that it will contribute in 2021. When it comes to the volume, it's really tricky to estimate that because all the sales and all that is via our partners. And as you know, I mean, Qualcomm and ABGSC and other partners, they are selling this to as a platform to the OEMs like Samsung, LG, Vivo, Oppo, etc. And that we are not really part. So our customer is ABGSC and Qualcomm. And to estimate their volumes out there is really, really tricky. And that's one of the reasons why we can't give any forecast for the full year, because we don't know actually. But the situation is really good. We took a decision here 2 years ago to minimize the number of customers and really support them and spend a lot of efforts into the development to take a bigger scope of the pre-processing and the liveness, etc. And now we can see that starts to pay off. But how successful they will be out there, that's impossible to say.
And do you know, I guess you don't know then how many smartphone solutions which actually they've sold this solution to yet? I guess that's ongoing.
No, they report that quarterly, and so unfortunately we don't know that. Of course, we know which phones they have tried to sell to and tried to integrate it to, but which solution in the end that will be successful, that we only get quarter by quarter.
I understand. Thank you. That was all the questions for me, but thank you, Stefan, for joining us today and telling us more about Precise.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.
Take care.